Well, welcome, Venerable Amy Miller. Welcome everyone here tonight in the Gompa and also online. I'm very happy to see so many faces. So wonderful. So tonight, Venerable Amy Miller will talk about, or tonight and the whole weekend, about how to deal with negative emotions, how to transform them. And we called it "Why is Life Such a Hassle?" And I think we can all relate to this. So Venerable Amy was born in the USA, and she always had this wish to bring something good, something positive to this world. Prior to meeting the Dharma, she was a political fundraiser. She volunteered for a homeless organization and for an AIDS hospice. And then, like a few of us, she met the Dharma in 1987 in like Kophan Monastery in Nepal. I think she was very fascinated. At least she started practicing, reading, studying Buddhism. And then from the year 1992, she started teaching more regularly. And then got ordained as a Buddhist nun in the year 2000. So now, exactly 25 years ago. And I heard she had also been director of several FPMT centers. And yes, so we are now very happy to have her here with us.
Thank you so much.
And just a few words, things I need to mention. So we are taking some pictures over the weekend, and if you prefer not to be on it, so we try to do it from the backs and use it maybe for the newsletter. And if you want us to know that you don't want to be on the pictures, please let us know. And we are a Tibetan meditation center that relies on donations and volunteer work, and we are very grateful for your generosity. We have a donation box outside, or pay by Twint or PayPal or bank transfer. And then one thing Maria asked me to say, so we are very happy if you could share some thoughts you had about this teaching tonight or over the whole weekend with us. We have a wall upstairs, and we have a lot of post-its where you can make notes, what you found interesting, maybe inspiring, what moved you. So we are very happy if you could share this with us. So I think this is all from my side, and I'm very happy to give my word.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone here. Is this easier for people online having me straight on? Or do you want, it's okay? Okay. I want to thank everyone here who's made this possible. So all the wonderful volunteers, our director, everybody that, thank you so much. Thank you for joining in person, for making the effort to come in person on maybe one of the hottest days of your summer so far, right? Very special, my karma, because I don't really like heat. So, and for those of you online, thank you so much. I'd like to thank Lars as well, contacting me, and everybody connected with Laksam. Thank you so much. So what I would like to start with is, this is about countering imbalance in your mind, countering imbalances in your mind, and we call them delusion, synonym, and also because English is not many people's first language, if there's a word I say you don't understand, please just put your hand up, ask me. If I'm speaking too quickly, same thing, ask me what to slow down. And so delusion is a synonym for imbalances in your mind. Negative emotion, same thing. Afflictive emotion, it's all the same. And so what do we mean by that? And I'm talking about things like confusion, which we would also equate with ignorance. I don't mean that you're stupid. I mean that you misunderstand reality. Okay. Based on that, we get attached and have a lot of desire to people and things. We also underestimate reality. So then we have aversion, hatred, anger, which smaller levels are irritation, frustration, annoyance. We have a lot of other delusions, imbalances like pride, jealousy, doubt, fear, anxiety, depression, laziness, forgetfulness. Okay, so a couple of those may have just jumped out for you that you're like, that's mine. Okay. So what you want to do in your practice, and some of you are already doing this, is you need to deal with the first one or two big delusions first. And what it means is you're going to have number one, our practice is simple as this. You have to become aware what's happening. Simple mindfulness. Oh, I'm noticing right now, you're at a business meeting. There's some irritation in my mind. It's as simple as that. You're not a bad person because you have irritation in your mind. That is the experience of human nature. Human nature, being a human in this tradition means you're flawed. You are flawed. You're imperfect, okay? But you're not bad because you're Buddha nature, okay? You're Buddha nature. And what that means is you have a seed, a potential that can awaken into a fully realized being. So it's your fundamental goodness, all the great qualities fully manifest, loving kindness, compassion, wisdom. You have that all in you now, okay? What happens, we have veils of obscuration, cover over. And then as a result, they're thick, and then I get triggered by something or someone, and suddenly fear arises, imbalance. Anger arises, imbalance. And then you open this in those moments and you say the wrong thing. You get into trouble, and then that creates another imprint in your mind of that. Okay. So what we do is in this tradition, we work to clean out the negative stuff first by being aware. Okay. And then we work to enhance all the positive qualities we have, because we also have many positive qualities. So please refresh that in your mind every day. I do it every morning when I'm lying in bed, waking up. We're going to exercise that in here. So I'll give you little exercises to do. So what I do want to say is you're not going to want to hear this, but this is a really authentic path. That's okay to hear that part. This is a path that will lead you to ultimate freedom. I have no question about that. I'm really invested in my path, and I have tried a lot of things, and it feels quite authentic that it works. However, it takes a lot of effort. So something that is plaguing the country that I was born into, the United States, is people want the easy way to get enlightened. And there isn't an easy way. Okay. So the Buddha has many life stories. We believe in reincarnation. So all of his past rebirths, he made so much effort, always effort. And what the beginning is, I start watching my mind. I start to get to know my mind. I start to be friends with my mind. Okay? So again, it's not that you notice irritation in your mind and you're bad. It's like, I notice, oh, there's some irritation in my mind. Okay, I'm trying. I'm okay. I'm actually okay. But sometimes there's irritation in my mind. And for some people, chronically depressed, people that have panic attacks, so chronically depressed, then you just have a lot of depression in your mind. But you're not a depressed person. You just have a lot of depression in your mind from a lot of habits of that in the mind. That's all. You have a panic attack, you're not really an anxious person. You just have a lot of anxiety at times in the mind. Okay? So one way we work on it is to de-identify with the emotion. But in a lot of our cultures, we're over-identified with the negativity. And we swim through the negativity all the time. I'm not good enough. I'm a terrible person. I don't deserve to be loved. Nobody cares about me. I never do anything right. Okay, so we're going to talk about all those little stories in your head, if you have them going in your head, or other stories, and how to balance, how to accurately explore those situations. Okay, are we communicating? Is that helpful? And are there other things, and please let me know online or in person, are there other things you're like, I need to hear about this? You didn't mention that. I have to hear this before the weekend ends. Really, please let me know. Is there anything right now? Yes.
Is that also part of the positive aspects of sadness?
And so can you speak a little louder?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is sadness also part of these negative emotions?
Yeah, sadness as well, which relates to depression. Yeah, very similar. So sadness, she's asking, is that part of negative emotions? Absolutely. Okay. But there's also like some highly realized teachers, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I've seen cry when giving a teaching. And so you have sadness, but in a highly realized being, it doesn't linger as negative karma in the mind. But some of us have sadness that it then creates negative habits for us, negative actions, negative speech, like that. So it depends how it's manifesting. So it doesn't mean that you lose a loved one and that you're not allowed to grieve. Absolutely, you can grieve within reason, but there are people I know that didn't have the right view of, for instance, that their mother was dying of cancer. There's a nun I know that, so her mother was dying of cancer, and she knew this, and obviously it was a little bit of a lingering death, because the cancer slowly, she deteriorated. And when her mother died, based on the kind of relationship they had, and I think this woman the nun didn't have her own self-worth, which is important, her own kind of balanced existence. So the mother was the big support. When the mother died, she basically had a breakdown. So again, you want to think about, in my grief, in my sadness, and it can be really serious when it's a deep loved one, but so you have your time, take your time to do that. You need to do it, but you don't want to lose the bigger motivation that I'm going to talk about in a moment, this bodhicitta heart, this good heart that is focused on getting enlightened so I can benefit all living beings. Okay, it's not about, the goal is not enlightenment. Enlightenment is the means to benefit all living beings. So I don't want to lose sight of that. Now, but you do need to, in grieving, take time for yourself. There's no rush to grieving. There's no set package of, you should be over this in a year. It's not like that. We grieve pets, we grieve loved ones, friends, like that. But if I have the bigger motivation, I can use my grief and my sadness in positive ways. Thank you. Everybody okay? Anything else that's coming? You can also ask me we'll make time for questions and answers as well in each session. So my understanding is we have tonight until 9. Is that right? Yeah. Tomorrow is 10, and we're gonna we have 10 to 12:30. So it's 2.5 hours. Then we're gonna have a lunch break for an hour and a half. There will be a short break in the 10 to 12:30, so you can go to the bathroom and we can have some tea. So usually I take about a half an hour break in that first session. Then we come back at 2 o'clock and we can have lunch here, I think, together as well, whatever like to do that. And then we'll have a session from 2 to 4, roughly, like that. And that'll be Saturday and Sunday. Great. Thank you. So what I want to start with is the beginning of countering delusions. Many of you are already doing this, have a meditation practice set up. Don't worry if you don't. It's never too late to start. And this is a great center to learn how to, what do I need to do? So let me talk a little bit about that. And is this too elementary for people, or is this, okay, great. This isn't really elementary. This is something that beginning, middle, and advanced levels of your practice, you need to come back to the basics. How is my sitting practice? And I adapt things over time. The practice will get stale after a while. You plateau, you get bored. So you can change things up, things like this. So the first thing I want to mention is when you're set up a place in your flat, in your home, if you can, the most important thing is to set something up in your home if you don't already have it set up. I know some of you live in really small spaces. So I do know people living in really small spaces, the only place they can sit is on their bed. They don't have any other room, okay? So if you do sit on your bed and use it, don't sit the same direction that you sleep, because the tendency is, I think I'll just lie down and do some meditation, and within a few minutes you're sleeping. So it's really hard to meditate lying down. You can try, but usually you go to sleep. And you get a little bit lazy in the whole activity. Now what happens is a lot of people aren't comfortable sitting cross-legged. Again, it's about practice. You don't have to sit cross-legged on a cushion, you can sit in a chair. So you want a comfortable seat. Our bodies are all different. So you want a comfortable seat. If you are seated in a chair, have the feet flat on the floor, straight down, not crossed. Okay? And try not to lean too heavily against the back of the chair, or don't prop yourself up against a wall, because your back will get really lazy and it obstructs the flow of energy. So I just found, train yourself. So over time, the other thing is I started sitting many years ago like this. My first course at Kopan Monastery, I was much younger, obviously, right? I could barely make it to 10 minutes like this. But my knees were screaming. So much younger body, much better knees, you know. I could barely make it because my body wasn't used to sitting like this. Okay. So practice over time, different retreats, different time. For some reason now I can sit long periods like this. Okay. But if you want to sit like this, you can always adjust. You don't have to sit. So this is a relaxed position. So somehow my body, after all the years of, so it just likes to sit in this position. I'm not as comfortable in a chair, actually. And chairs anywhere made for people like 11 feet tall. They usually, you know, they're not positioned for people my height or my legs like that. So it's very uncomfortable. So you practice, the more you sit, and then what you can do if you have the room in your home, you can try a little bit on a cushion if you like. But then you can also transition, sit in a chair too, part of the time. We have people in retreats that do that. So they sit part of the time and then they have a chair near their thing and then they get up and they sit in a chair. Yeah. So we have these ideas, I have to meditate like this. The main thing is comfort for your body. So here's the other thing is most of the centers, most Buddhist centers I know have round cushions. Yes, okay. So I can't sit on these because my legs go numb. Just the way my body is. So I can fold up a blanket. I just sit on a corner under my tailbone. But so some people like it low, like that. Some people need a very high cushion. Figure out what works for you so that you can adapt and make sure the main thing is have that spine extended as possible. So you want to find that nice extension. Lama Zopa Rinpoche will say, your sides are long. So you feel that extension. That's the most important part of the posture, that position of the spine. So as if the back is straight. We know the spine is not straight, but nice open flow of energy. And then we have position of the legs, whichever cross-legged, however you're propped up. And if you're in the chair, just feet straight down. Great. And if you can put them flat on the floor. If your legs are too short like mine are, you can get a cushion, put it under your feet. A little bit better for the hips and feet. So you experiment. These are just little tips like that. Position of the hands. Position of the hands. So the other thing is if you set this up in your home, you can. So here's a few things. So you don't want a heavily trafficked area like a hallway for your seat. You don't want to you don't really want to move the seat if it's possible because you build up energy. And this ends up becoming your safe, relaxed place to work with your mind. Safe, relaxed place. So you want to be invited. You want to see it and go, I just had a really bad day at work. So I'm going to go into my space, sit there. This is what I did when I first got into Buddhism. You know, I'd done a course, but I didn't really know how to meditate, but I had interest. Somehow I found the meditation, somehow it did something good for me with that. So then I came back to the States. I was in Asia, then I came back to the States. I had a stressful job working at a magazine. And there were 30 people in the office. I was the new person, but there were some challenging situations like this. So I would come back from work and we would have had a management meeting and stress and this person a little bit yelling at this person about their budget and this person and some of the people, because I was newer, there were a couple of big guys, they were a little scary and they raised their voices and, you know, so I was just observing all this. And then I come home from work. I had to have a meeting with one of these guys soon to organize this thing. And I was a bit intimidated. So then come home from work, I'd set up this little space, I had a little room, and I would be upset about work, and then I'd crawl into my little space. Okay, so the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing, okay? So I would sit and let the day flow out. So basically, position, I'll talk about the position in a moment. I close my eyes. I try to remember the position, what they said was effective for meditation. There's a lot of ways we can sit. Some of you have, I've seen other things with yoga postures, this Buddhist tradition, this Buddhist tradition. So I'm going to tell you one position. At least try it. Try it a little bit. Okay. And you make adjustments in the body. So you might feel uncomfortable in part of it because the body's not used to that. Like when I first sat, I wasn't that comfortable in the position. Okay? But then over time, so you try a little bit in the position, and you want to relax a little bit, relax a little bit. Then you try the position again. Yes. So I would come back and try to remember the position, what I could, and then I'd sit there. So then you have all the bubbles of all the distraction of your day. I don't really like him. He's a jerk. You know, all these other things coming up. But the thing is I just sit and watch, follow my breath. In and out, simple there. Then the thoughts start slowly subsiding. So let them go. Okay. So slowly, and then I'd sit, and then I'd, second round, the second pass through my mind, I'd be like, okay, I feel better now, feel a little better. So now let me look at what was really going on and who these people are. And let me look at the stories my mind's creating about these people. And let me poke those stories to see if they're really accurate. So we will talk more about that more specifically, but you know what I mean? This is a process, and your practice is a process as well. Takes time. Takes time. Okay. So the one thing I will say is please be patient with yourself in the practice. Be patient with your practice. People come to me, I've been sitting for 2 months, I still get angry. Right? People in their 40s. You have 40 years of doing it one way, and you think you're going to fix it in 2 months. It's just not realistic. Okay? So we just show up. Just my practice every day, it's begin again. And I just show up what's going on in my mind. What's going on in my mind. Okay. So position the spine. This is called the 7-point Vairocana posture. And Vairocana simply is an aspect of the Buddha. So it's like a white Buddha who brings us our form. So how's our body? What position is my body in? Okay. So I've got the position of the spine, position of the legs. Then the hands are face up, right palm on the left. Okay. So for those of you, hang on a second in the room. Okay. Right palm on the left. Thumbs are pressed together. You can try this, but it's right against the body at the level of the navel. Okay. So you might feel the shoulders a little tweak, but the arms actually go out. Okay. Wings of the bird. A little bit like that. I'll explain that in a moment. Okay. So for those of you online, position of the hands. So these thumbs pressed together, significance. Why are the thumbs pressed together? We have all different kinds of, you know, and you check your posture over time, because sometimes I've found out I wasn't sitting right after a while. You get lazy, the hands drop into the lap. When the hands drop into the lap, you slouch. This is an alert posture. I'm going to be alert to wake up fully, to become a Buddha. I have to be alert to do that. So they say the subtle energy system in your body, this is not a system you can see if you open the body up, but there's veins that run down the palm of the thumb called bodhicitta vein. A bodhicitta, like the enlightened mind. And why does it direct us to the enlightened consciousness, which is what bodhicitta means, mind of enlightenment, is because it closes off delusion in your mind. They say subtly. And some lamas have said it's an opener for the energy center of the heart chakra. There's a wheel at the heart. Opens that. Okay, so this is one position of the hands. Then the head is slightly tipped forward, but it's natural, relaxed posture. But what happens is if you're up here, you get a lot of distraction. Okay? If you're down here too much with the neck, you go to sleep, get drowsy. It's very practical. You can lightly close your eyes. And the eyes are focused towards the tip of the nose or the floor and the space in front of you. So everything is directing inward in a sense. And keep a normal, natural breath moving through your system. The lips are lightly together. The teeth are slightly apart. And if you'd like, you can curl the tongue to touch the upper palate behind the front teeth. And that cuts down on the production of saliva, which causes you to swallow. So then you swallow less during meditation, which can be distracting. You swallow a lot. 7-point Varachana posture. You just try your best. And when the arms go out, like I mentioned, they are representative. So it's a reminder for your mind. The right arm is our method, bodhicitta, how we're going to get enlightened with that incredibly good heart. And the left is the view we want to have, that we want to develop, the wisdom, realizing emptiness. Method and wisdom. As best as you can, allow yourself to relax into this posture. And if you need to adjust at any time, feel free. Okay, so here is another very important component of your meditation practice. Most people forget, or they're very wound when they're doing meditation. You have to relax. So please start at the very top of your head. We're going to take a couple of minutes to scan down through our entire body, out our feet and toes. And use your breath, use your inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation is going to open up space in any tense places you're holding in your body, like your brow, your jaw, your neck and shoulders, or lower back, hips. So allow that inhalation, open up space there. And with every exhalation, release that tension as much as possible. Just 2 minutes. And take a moment right now to think about your reason for being here, what interest you have in this topic or Buddhism as a whole. So we're often very focused on what we can get out of something. No problem. So you may get some information this weekend that may benefit your mind, may give you some tips to open your heart and kindness to yourself, no problem. Especially kindness to others. And what happens as humans is I think most people in this room would like to be kinder to ourselves and others in a more natural, automatic way. But we're often limited. But if you have a fully awakened consciousness, like a Buddha, Buddha simply means in Sanskrit, fully awake, fully awakened being. And from that place, you are omniscient, you're all knowing. Because you know everything, you have no fear. And you have every positive quality fully manifest every moment in your mind. So wisdom, compassion, loving kindness, generosity, patience, things like that. And you live every moment, every second of your life, using that consciousness, using that insight from a blissful state as well to benefit all living beings. Every moment. So imagine that. And then let's consider for a moment, as much as we can, you've got people personally in your lives who are struggling quite a lot right now, suffering. Wouldn't it be amazing if they were free of their suffering? And you go further out on the planet, and there's so much suffering. So it's not that Buddhas are out there able to free all these beings, because they're not omnipotent, they're not all powerful, they're all knowing. It's different. But with their knowledge, they can manifest in whatever's most beneficial every moment. So they are out there doing the work, often work we don't see, and helping to guide us to that ultimate freedom as well. But in reflecting once again about all the suffering beings around the planet, which can be overwhelming, but let's also think about them, in a sense, bringing them into our hearts, or just take the one person you'd like to think of in your life, you know, personally, in a sense, like we offer and dedicate this weekend to them. And think, if I get some information this weekend, may I roll it into a practice. I can only do the best I can, but a practice that will help me move along a path to full awakening, so I can benefit all living beings. So if you like that idea, if Feel free to include it in your motivation. And at the very least, try to set your mind in the most positive direction. And then bring your awareness to a normal, natural breath. So you might just feel the rising, your chest, as you breathe, inhale, a little bit contraction of that as you exhale. You might follow the rising and falling, shifting of your abdomen. And a little space, just at the end of your nostrils where the air enters in and leaves the body. Focus on one of those places, keeping the mind there. Perfectly natural for the mind to wander off. As soon as you notice, no further story needed, you simply bring the mind back to the breath. Please relax. And slowly, when you're ready, open your eyes. So there are some prayers that the center, we usually do some motivational prayers in the beginning, we dedicate at the end. We're going to do that Saturday and Sunday. We will do some dedication prayers at the end this evening. So we have these bookends around your practice: motivation, dedication, motivation and dedication. So the more you can bring that into your everyday experience is number one beginning of how do I counter delusion. Okay? What happens is we launch out of the gate in the morning, you wake up, okay? Either the alarm goes off, or you wake up naturally, or you hear a noise, something wakes you up externally like that, or could be a dream. And then I'm just curious, Anybody? I know everybody gets a little shy in the beginning. Wait, what are your waking thoughts? Waking thoughts, anybody?
Always disturbing,
It's disturbing.
always disturbing.
In the morning when you wake up, your mind is disturbed. What's it disturbed with?
All sorts of things.
Okay, so internal thoughts mainly, or external things going on? Like
Both.
a cat walking across you, stepping on you right here?
Not so intense. For me, it's more, oh yeah, that's my morning. That's the morning mind that's just
Okay.
kind of going through stuff to wake up. And so I just ignore it
Okay,
until I've woken up properly.
so the disturbance you ignore, you're saying?
I've just recognized it and befriend it.
And friend it.
Yeah,
Okay,
befriend it,
she's
yeah.
saying she's got disturbance in her mind, so she's just recognized it over the years and tries to kind of embrace it in a sense. Or, okay, and just, or let it go, some of it.
Yeah, mostly it's like 4 children, 4 grandchildren. There's always something,
Okay,
who's
so-
doing this, what's happening here, but
so busy lives, she's
Yeah.
saying 4 children, 4 grandchildren. So we've got lists in our heads we wake up with, right? How many of you have school-age children or have kids? Okay, so you wake up with the kids, if school age, especially if they're young kids, there's a lot going on when you've got young kids in a family going on. But we also have other lists. You got a stressful job. You got, oh, I got a meeting and I got to present that. Oh, I didn't finish the report and I don't like my boss, like thoughts like that. Okay. What else do you wake up with? Anybody? Yes. Maria.
Yes. And it actually, I'm just going to say that it actually works. When I wake up, I hear the birds say good morning, say, Maria, I love you, and thank you, I'm grateful for the new day. But you know, it takes time, but it's the first thing that comes.
Great. So she's got gratitude. She hears the birds. She's thankful for the birds. Good morning. I love you. She says to herself, gratitude. That's one way people wake up.
Being grateful for the day, it's actually impermanent.
Grateful for the day. I'm thinking about impermanence of the day. Everybody wake up like that?
I mean, the two, like sometimes, like Maria, and sometimes like her, like with a lot of thoughts about the things ahead, or yeah, things from the last night, or also sometimes I have dreams or nightmares, and I remember really everything. So I wake up with this energy.
Yeah, so you wake up with dreams or nightmares and you're reflecting on those. And you've got life and some gratitude and all that mix. Like there's a lot happening. Absolutely. Absolutely. Doesn't anybody wake up wanting coffee? Wanting a shower? Wanting to go to the bathroom? I mean, aren't they, so what happens is, please notice, and so I'm going to give you an exercise tonight, how to go to sleep, to make it a little more virtuous, and how to wake up in the morning. And this is the beginning of me balancing my mind, okay? And getting garbage thoughts out of my mind, reducing the garbage thoughts if I can, okay? So one thing tonight, and try to remember, if you forget, don't worry about it. Try to remember, we have to sleep. They say sleep is good for us. Some people do not sleep a lot. Some people don't sleep well. Some people sleep too much. And we all have different experiences of sleep. So when you go to sleep tonight, you finished everything, you're finally in bed. There you are. So can you think for a moment, even if you sleep with someone, okay? It's your own personal little, you're quiet, you finished talking to them. I have to sleep tonight, you can just think. So, because I need my rest and I'd like to sleep well and have good energy and rest my body, my mind. Great, nothing wrong with that. And I hope I sleep well and I hope I wake up in the morning and because of the sleeping well and recharging myself now, however you want to say in your own words. But the reason I want to do it is that I do hope I can wake up and have more time to practice Dharma, to move along an authentic path, spiritual path that will get me fully enlightened for the purpose of benefiting all living beings. So really for that reason, I'm going to practice the yoga of sleeping, like a sleeping exercise tonight. Then you go to sleep. So you try, see, how does it, but again, put it into your own words, okay? Then you wake up in the morning. Okay, so how many people here and online, sorry, I wasn't picking on the people online, how you guys wake up. Okay. So when you wake up in the morning, how many people get out of bed right away? Okay, we've got 3. You better than, you also, yeah, okay, 3 are better than a lot of other classes. Online, who gets out of bed right away? Oh, we got a lot of hands. Okay, some of them are like, not really. Okay, the majority of people in classes seem to not get out of bed right away. Okay, so you got a little higher percentage here. That's impressive. Okay, so what do you do in the time that you're lying in bed? Some people hit the snooze. You get 10, you get what, 10 more minutes. Okay, do you really get any good sleep in that 10 minutes? I find it torturous if I hit the snooze. I find it not a, even if I mean, you know, because just 10 minutes later, and I don't like the sound of the alarm. I've yet to find an alarm I like the sound of. So to have to hear it again is torturous for me. I usually just try to wake up naturally if I can. Okay. So what are you doing in that 10 minutes, or what are you doing in that time in bed? Let's be honest. What are we doing?
Checking the news.
You're sorry?
Checking the news.
You're you're looking at your phone, right?
Yes.
People grab their phones. I'm gonna really ask you, please, for your peace of mind, to counter delusion. Don't pick up your phone in the morning. If you can. If you don't have kids and you don't have an aging parent you're taking care of or some emergency, give yourself space until I have space till I turn that phone on. So I know you might have a stressful job, you might need it to get to work, or you're zinging your, you know, whatever fare on the tram. I get that, but can wait as long as possible before you turn that phone on. Now I know there's other things we're doing. You go, but my alarm's on my phone. So when sometimes I'm leading a retreat, and part of the retreat materials that you get in advance says bring another alarm that is not your phone, because some centers take your phones for the retreat. How would that be for you? People freak out, right? Last summer, autumn, I was very fortunate to get more. I try to get some solar retreat time every year, and I got longer last year. I planned it that way. 4 months offline. You can imagine, it was the best thing. It was my happy time. You know? So it's overwhelming when I come back and all the things, but it's worth having the 4 months. Just, you know, nothing to have to destroy. Oh, and we know we've gone down that wormhole. We say you're just checking the news, Lars, right? And then you end up in some other site that you had to go look at because the news. And then there goes a half an hour. So be skillful. And this is the first thing I mentioned. So right now, I think Switzerland is a much more reasonable culture. It feels quite calm, and you're well supported in your culture, in your country. Unlike the country that I'm in, the United States, you don't have much of a safety net. The support is atrocious. I'm paying right now over $400 a month for health insurance. That doesn't include my travel medical insurance on top of that. And I could go on and on. And as you know, people are quite freaked out there right now. And I get messages a lot from friends. So, so these things are overwhelming in the mind, you know, waking up with this kind of, it just really disturbs the mind. Social media for me is a bit of the toilet of the internet, frankly. So now, and I do posts for the programs, you know, little bits and things, but I'm really trying to avoid any more of having to look extensively because so please check your mind can you give yourself tech holidays? So I have one day a week that doesn't get turned on. Computer I don't open, I don't turn the phone on. You know, have a little exercise, maybe with your partner, you see, and you go out into nature, your pretty parks here. You have to, you know, just give yourself a morning where you try. So what happens is you're building up a habit, a different type of habit. So some of us, based on our age, I'm saying it's kind of exciting at this center because you have younger people. Some centers, the entire center is, you know, women 60 and over. Right. So I don't know in 20 years who will be at the center, if they'll, you know, but here it's great when you see younger people. But some of us in the room remember before phones, before smartphones. And there was a different space to life that some of the younger people that I know that I'm quite close with, my niece and nephews and other friends, they never had that space. They were always online. There was always something, some technology that was distracting them. So what happens with the motivation, and you can reset it all day long if you want, get into that habit, which is me telling me, oh, whoa, my mind is off balance. Wait a minute, back to my motivation. Motivation, in a sense, is an anchor for your boat all day. Okay, but I have a positive motivation. So that's me saying I'm directing my mind in the direction I want it to go. The internet and your phone and the news and garbage and TV, and be careful what you're reading, what you're looking at, right? It pulls your attention away where it wants it to go. So you have this little space I'm going to call the internet, which is like your phone, this big, right? Takes all your energy into this box, this little thing, just to scatter it into a million, bazillion pieces. So if you like that kind of mind, I don't like my mind like that because I can't control my mind better. Your mind, your attitude is the only thing you can control. So I don't know if that's news for you. So you can let go trying to control your mother, your partner, your kid, just your mind. It's the only thing you can really get some control over. So I just find all that distraction doesn't really help. So here's a waking up motive. So what that motivation does is that's you're saying, wait a minute, and all the lists can be there. All the you go, okay, you know what? I have all day for you. Not now. My motivation. So here's how I wake up. Okay, this is 5 minutes. So you're going to use your wasted time in bed that you're not getting up right. That's fine, but let's use it. Okay, so I come into consciousness. I notice I'm waking up. I'm waking up, whether the alarm went off or 5 minutes. The first moment is you come into consciousness. You're you and your body. Okay. Do you ever have succulents that your body and mind is working pretty well, relatively? No, we just take it for granted. The fact that you can move your leg in bed without pain, amazing. You know how many people can't even move in bed? Paralyzed, accident, they're mentally ill. They're not thinking straight. Illnesses in the body, right? So every day we wake up, it's like, so breathe it in. Have a moment to just like, okay, I wake up and I have this moment a little bit like, you check. Okay, I'm still in the Amy life. Okay, for me, the Amy life is really good. So I'm like, not without its problems, but the fact that you got yourself in this room right now, in the Zoom room as well, I think you got a lot going for you. Because number one, you have the leisure to come here. We don't have bombs falling on us. We can be in this room, no bombs, no danger. I just walked down the street with a computer. I didn't have any worry about somebody stealing the computer. I don't know, you don't, it's not, so Switzerland is safe. There's parts of the place that I live, Philadelphia, I live there part of the year, where I'm from. Some places not safe to do that, like that. So again, ease of life, fantastic. And then what you could do, 2 minutes, this is only 2 minutes. Why don't you reflect a little further on your precious human rebirth? We say the beginning of the Lam Rim, beginning of our philosophy, perfect or precious human rebirth. So you reflect how you like. We have relatively clean air to breathe. Every day you have that, basically. I mean, they just said something about the Canadian fires are coming, there is, okay, but all right, but basically, so I was just in Kathmandu. We had a big organizational meeting in April. I went to Kathmandu, very poor country, as you know, some of you have been there, right? I have never, ever seen the pollution as bad. In over 30 years going there, I've never seen it. And all of us that have been there for years were like, we've never seen it like this. You couldn't even see. But, right across from where the mountains were, couldn't see anything. It's always been bad, the pollution's gotten worse over the years. I've never seen it like this. And within a few days, many people had upper respiratory problems, coughs. I had the same thing. I developed this cough. I was there 3 weeks. By the end, it got really bad, and then I left, and then it took about a week, and then I didn't have a cold, I didn't have a flu, just pollution. not here. So, and then you have relatively clean water to drink right out of the faucet. Okay, in Nepal, they boil and filter their water. Can't at all drink anything out of the faucet there. Then we have loving family and friends. What a luxury. We have incredible, decent food to eat, fresh food, like that. In Nepal, you go to the market, you buy a tomato, it's all water. No nourishment in it. You get an apple, it's mealy. No energy in the food. Because also the land is not cultivated properly. So everything's poor and like poor countries. So you just think about these things. Then you've had access to decent public education. You have much better system than you have in the United States. You have access to that. Very, very nice infrastructure. You know, fantastic public transportation system. Nice roads, beautiful mountains. I could go on, right? So you reflect. And so tomorrow morning, leave a note for yourself. If you forget in the bed thing, and then you put it on the bathroom mirror, post it. Because people forget. That's normal. You don't have a habit. So you put a note to remind yourself. Motivation. Put it into your own words. Whatever, you know. But so this is first reflection on your precious human rebirth. 2 minutes. Drink it in. Feel the gratitude. Let that wave of appreciation soak through you. Or you can traditionally meditate on precious human rebirth. Some of you are familiar with that part of the Lam Rim. There's 18 situations, that make up a precious human rebirth. So you can slowly learn those. Reflect on one of those in the morning. Like that. Like you're free. Here's one of them. Some of you know this. What's one? What do you, if I say precious human rebirth, 8 freedoms, 10 richnesses traditionally make up precious human rebirth. Anybody, what comes to mind? Does anybody know? Anybody read any of this?
Way of being
Thank you. I planted her there to say that. Thank you. Yeah, so one of the freedoms, you're free from being an animal. Free from being an animal. So that's a lower realm of existence in Tibetan Buddhism. Thank you, right? Lower realm of existence. So then what you want to do for a moment, maybe you just reflect on. So when people say, well, my dog is really smart. Like, don't tell me my dog is a lower rebirth. Okay, please check your pets. People say my cat is a Buddha. Okay, check that animal's existence. First of all, look at what they eat. Are you eating that food? You have to really meditate. So you spend when you meditate on the Lam Rim, 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to be that animal and look out through their eyes. Look how they lick themselves. Look where they lick themselves. Okay, look at what they're afraid of because they don't understand. There's no animals in this room right now studying Dharma. They can't read Dharma. They may be some animals, some of our pets are very intelligent. There's no question. They're not able to study Dharma. But you have to really check that existence slowly. You spend some time, look out through, but most animals live in the sea. The insect realm is vast, as we know. Okay. When you look at that existence of what they're doing, a lot of animals are eating other animals, killing other animals, or they're eating in fear that something's gonna. Do you ever see the way birds eat? Would you like to eat that way? No relaxation, they're constantly, something's gonna eat them. Okay. So you really have to be in the mind of that animal. Slowly, anyway, that's Lam Rim meditation. Talk a lot about that. Okay. So you wake up 2 minutes, you have your precious human rebirth, wonderful. My existence, fantastic. You want to really feel that, okay, the next 2 minutes, okay, death and impermanence. Okay. So the way I actually do it, a little stronger, is this is my last day. I have precious human rebirth, but this is my last day. So 6 o'clock tonight, I'm gone. Okay. So I made it another day. It's now 8 o'clock. Okay. But so people say to me, don't say that you'll cause your death. I've been doing this for years, still here. Okay. So it's just a reflection. It's just a reflection. What if it were my last day today? Okay. Now, what if it were my last day? So what people say is, I'm not going to work. Right. So it's not about what you're going to do. on your last day. It's how you want to be on your last day. How would you like to be on your last day? What would you like your attitude to be on your last day? So you want to have some reflection, and you could go into whatever you understand of our teachings on death and impermanence. We have a more traditional meditation called the 9-point death meditation. So maybe you read some of that and you bring up one of those points, okay? But intellectually, you know you're going to die. I think most people get that. You don't really have it here. You certainly have it here. Okay. So you can reflect, what if it were my last day? How would I like to be? Most people I know want to be peaceful, kind, without regrets, you know, have spacious mind, things like that. So then you think, okay, I would like that kind of experience today, my last day. So then from there, I set a motivation. 5th minute, I set my motivation. 5 minutes, I set a motivation. Okay, I get one more day to practice with my mind. Fantastic. Buddhism says you created this for yourself. Fantastic. So give yourself some credit. And how would I like to be today? And bringing in, as we say in Buddhism, bodhicitta, this enlightened attitude, which is the heart of this tradition. Bodhicitta, it's a Sanskrit word that means, bodhi means enlightenment. Citta means mind. So the mind of enlightenment is, I want to become a Buddha to benefit all living beings. Okay? It encompasses empathy, compassion, loving kindness. So I want to develop all those qualities. And I want to try to direct as much as I can today, all the activities in my body, speech, and mind towards something positive, something virtuous, you might say, that's going to move me along that path so I can benefit all living beings. And with that motivation, or put it into your own words, with that motivation, I get out of bed, go to the bathroom, have your shower, have your coffee, go to work, whatever you're doing. Then if you want to look at the news, Lars, okay, then you can look at the news. But I really think it's helpful to wait for that moment and wait until you get your mind directed, because often the news will come much later. You go, no, I'm not interested in looking at that now. And the mind's a little bit. Then what some people do is they, you know, at least before you kind of sit, if you have time to sit in the morning, if you say, I don't have time, maybe look at getting up 15 to 30 minutes earlier and try that. I know people that have young kids and they get up half an hour before just to know that, and they go, that's my time before the kids wake up, and I got my time. Then they get time after the kids go to sleep, but then they're more tired. So figure out in your day. Some people work remotely, so great, you have different space you can create like that. I think it's helped people that don't have to commute so much to work, things like that. So you set it up, figure out, and then when you have a day off and you want to sit, you might just plunk yourself down for 20 minutes, half an hour. Start short in the beginning. Okay. And when you sit yourself down, again, don't forget to relax. Because sometimes I'm leading a retreat and I look around the room in the beginning session, you know, and everybody's like, I'm meditating. That's not meditation. When you really disengage the nervous system in a way and get that space going in there, then the meditation comes organic. Like your mind just rests in its spacious, clear nature that it really is, not the cluttered list of disturbance in the mind. That's not really the nature of your mind. The mind's clear and knowing. So that way, just notice if you're tense, and then this is my time. I'm just gonna show up, whatever, even if you don't know much about meditation, you know, just let yourself be for a moment. Let yourself just be in that space. You know, okay, good enough. Start there. Start there. Any questions? And does anybody need to just stand up and stretch right now? We have almost another hour. Is that helpful? Feel free if you want to just stand up and stretch. That's helpful. And while we do, does anybody have any questions so far of what I'm saying? Please.
Great.
And what's your name?
Gala,
Gala,
yes.
nice name, yeah.
What if, when I sit and meditate, I'm feeling very bad? Like I have a lot of strong emotion and I want to be relaxed. What if it's not the reality at the moment
Yep.
for me?
So what happens if you sit and you're feeling really bad? A lot of strong emotions coming through, and that's where you are. That's why we sit. So here's the thing is, the mind is different every time. It's amazing. Same mind. So I just did my mentions retreat several months last summer, autumn. And I, had a particular program I was doing in the retreat, particular practice. I had to count mantras, sacred sayings. So visualization in it as well. So that package was already there, and my practices and other prayers and things. But every session, 4 sessions a day, I did time traditionally, 4 sessions a day. Every session, my mind was different. So you're trying to get some consistency, but sometimes the mind's really cooperative, sometimes not so cooperative, sometimes sleepy. So, and whatever it is, I still show up. And I just observe. And so sometimes you'll sit and you just observe gently, like, so this was me coming back from the magazine after really irritating day. And I know that I'm the new person there. I'm being tested a little bit. And then I have to have a meeting soon with this really big, scary guy that was yelling at people today, that I heard yelling at people. So I come back and I'm really tense and I'm like, and he really yelled at somebody today. We had an open air office, so you heard everything. How am I going to work with him? What am I going to, the anxiety, what am I going to do? What am I going to say to him? What if he starts yelling at me? What if, and so then you just sit there and what happens is if I just follow my breath, right? Let me just see those thoughts turn into bubbles and let them float off for the time being. Just so slowly they just start subsiding, right? I don't overthink it. So I don't need to add more thoughts of that. Like I'm aware there's a lot spinning out. I'm aware I'm in a terrible mode right now, you might say. Right? And I'm just going to observe, and I might even be like, wow, I'm really in really bad mode right now. I feel awful. I'm just full of delusion. And then you have some voices. I'm a mess. I'm a screw up. Whatever that inner dialogue, right? So slowly you learn through the space and just keep the breathing and follow the breath and let that. So instead of following the thought, I'm going to let that thought go because that thought is not at all really true. It's just an old habit of that. When I feel bad, let it go. I'm just following my breath right now. Calm me down. Inhalation, exhalation. Inhalation. You might even count your breaths. 1 inhalation, 1 exhalation is 1. Stay there. And the thoughts, see them like bubbles, they float off. And after about 5 or 10 minutes of it, they start subsiding. And then I'm going to analyze now. Okay, what do I feel so bad about? What's my mind telling me? What's my mind telling me? I'll give you an example. In this case is those thoughts rolling about the guy. He's horrible. He looked terrible today. I hate his hair. I hate the color of that shirt he had on today. Oh, his voice is so grating. I couldn't believe he was yet like. So this is a type of what we call analytical meditation. So some of you have heard about analytical meditation on the Lam Rim, on our philosophy. Lam means path, Rim, stages. So it's a gradual path. Go through the philosophy gradually. Okay, it's all built, it's all designed in a very unique, perfect way for our minds to meditate on, to get some contrived realizations first, meaning we're kind of forcing it, and then to develop uncontrived realizations. So that if I think of death and impermanence, suddenly it'll automatically come up in my mind. And if you're having an argument with somebody and that comes up in your mind, you're going to think, if I was actively dying now, would I be holding on to this? Would I be angry with this person right now if I was dying? But it doesn't mean you don't speak up in the face of injustice, something you want to say, but how do you want to say it? Say it and let it go. And keep that big motivation there, bodhicitta. underneath it all. So during the day, can I remind myself during the day, especially when I'm unbalanced, bodhicitta motivation, and reestablish my motivation. Came back this thing and you said, oh, I have these terrible negative thoughts coming up, emotions. Let me set a motivation first to just sit and look at it. Because without the motivation, it's all swimming around me. It's all about me, what we say, I, me, mine, or me, myself, and I. It's all about me, and oh, woe is me, and I have these thoughts, and I'm no good, and this is going to happen. And when I suddenly say, well, my mind is a mess right now, complete mess, can feel completely out of control. But if I can just sit for a moment, follow my breath, so I can calm myself down and use this on my path to enlightenment so I can quickly get enlightened, because so many are suffering, right? They really need my help. I actually have a lot of good things going for me. And so with that intention, so I can benefit all living beings right now, I'm just gonna sit here and feel sad. But it's different. And what's hard, it's hard to hang on to the sad because I set the motivation. You have to try. So I like to reestablish, I like to think about that during the day. You have transitions all day. Transitions. This class will stop at 9 o'clock. It's a transition. It's like a mini death. And then you're going to transition out the door and you're going to go home. So when you're going home, you're walking home or you're taking the train home. You can set another motive. How do I want to ride on the train? Well, I need to get home, do my evening stuff, but I hope I can direct my mind in a good way and be kind to the people around me, be somewhat conscious of them so I can become a Buddha quickly and benefit all living beings. So that with that motivation, I ride the train, I walk home, I brush my teeth. Make sense? Slowly. And then we're going to slowly this weekend talk about how I analyze the story. So here, I'll give you another example. So then I came home with my anxiety about the guy at work. And then I noticed after a little bit calming, I noticed all my story of all the negative aspects of him. So when I said analytical meditation, we train ourselves to meditate on the Lam Rim. So each topic of the philosophy, analytically, I'm analyzing. And what I'm doing is I might take, as I mentioned, death and impermanence, or I'm taking precious human rebirth. One of the beginning subjects, I'm free from being an animal. Okay, well, what's that mean? So I'm going to try to place myself really in that animal's consciousness. You pick one animal, be in their experience, look out through those, and you want to analyze from every aspect. What do they eat? What do you think they think about? What do they fear? Right? What are they in control of in their lives? What would they like to do that they're not able to do? How do they live? How do they die? How do they interact with other beings? And from every angle, and then things that you read in the books, you apply. Things you heard in the class on that topic, you apply. You analyze every aspect, something you heard from another student, something you heard from your teacher, all comes in to move that intellectual understanding. I don't really want to be an animal, to a spiritual realization, experiential realization. You experience, I don't want to be an animal. Oh my God. Okay. And then you 15, 20 minutes, try to stay there over and over. When you have this little juicy aha moment, right? Then what you want to do is second meditation we do. We have analytical meditation in this tradition. We also have placement meditation or stabilizing meditation, sometimes called synonyms. We call it in Tibetan shine, calm abiding, or shamatha in Sanskrit. Okay. And that's what I'm going to do is suddenly have this gripping, oh my God, I don't want to be an animal. Then you take all your concentration, all that single pointed focus, whatever you've got, apply to that experience you're having, that juice, like to deepen the experience. Okay. Then it fades again. Then I analyze more quickly, come back to that moment, and then apply the placement meditation in. That's how we interweave those two meditations, analytical meditation with stabilizing or placement meditation. Those are the two main meditations that we do in this tradition. So I came home and noticed in my sitting, my initial sitting, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, calm myself down. The guy at the magazine. And then I was able to notice that I had wonderful analytical meditation on all of his negative qualities. Okay, that's not the right way to do analytical meditation. What we're constantly doing it on negativity. And what it does, is it plants more seeds of negativity in my mind. That's all it does. So we're very good at analytical meditation. Westerners don't like analytical meditation in the Lam Rim. They find it boring because we don't know how to do it properly. But we do it all the time. Just with obsessive negative thoughts, negative things about ourselves, negative things about other people, fear, depression, anger, hatred, attachment, like that. So what I did is I started to notice, and I was just a new Buddhist. I didn't really know anything. And I was like, all these thoughts and words about him in my mind convinced me he was evil. Not evil, but a real jerk. Like, no problem. I convinced myself of that and then I had to go back and say, well, you need to work with him. So I can hold him as a jerk. And most of my interactions from that space, I found were going to be uncomfortable for me. Probably uncomfortable for it. Like, definitely that would be there. So that's not where we want to be. So then I went back, just sitting there calmly. And then I thought analytically, okay, so I'm very convinced he's got a lot of negative qualities. That's clear now. Does he have any positive qualities? And why not try that? Does he have any positive qualities? Okay. Well, by the way, everybody does, because everybody has Buddha nature. Now you go, well, terrorists have Buddha nature? Does the President of the United States have Buddha nature? Okay. Does the person, running Israel right now have Buddha nature? Doesn't appear that way. Does Putin have Buddha nature? Right? So they don't appear to my mind to be operating from that, but they have Buddha nature, just like me. Just like me. They have that seed that can awaken into a Buddha. Okay. Maybe they have, and I don't know their minds. Maybe they have thicker veils of obscuration covering over it. It appears that way to me, but I don't know for sure. Okay. But everybody has good qualities. So if you talk to their families, their loved ones, they would give you a whole list of their good qualities without even hesitating, right? So it's a way we broaden and let go of the clutching onto the evil of somebody and the negativity and dwelling on that. And that's why the news doesn't help, okay? Because it feeds that. And the news is not accurate, as you know. So you have to be really careful what news sources, but most of them are not working so well. They've got one slant or another, and then do you really want to spend your time looking through all the different news sources to get that story straight? Because by tomorrow, it's going to be different. Another thing you have to spend all your time doing, the next day's thing, and the next thing. It's just a habit, looking at the news. Right? Some people are junkies on the news. They check constantly during the day. You have to be the ones. Did you see the story on the, okay? I find it really, and I came from politics. I worked in politics, for God's sake, in the US. I was always fixated on it. We had to be, right? Politics in the US, right? That's why I'm a nun now, right? So how well that worked, right? So, but again, look at your habits in your mind slowly. Look at the habits so that's why, like, I do look at the news because I travel. I need to know if the country I'm going to is safe or what's happening or the plane so I certainly look at it, in a limited way of what will work and not overly disturbed by things like that. So I'd rather work on the mind. So then I come back and does this guy I'm working with at the magazine have any good qualities? Right. And suddenly 1, 2, 3, I could list 5 right away. Amazing. But I wasn't focused on them, but they sprang right up. 5 good qualities that he had. So then I had a little determination. My meeting is the next day, but I did this for several days because he was looming. Several days. You have to do, and meditations are designed to be done over and over and over. Because that's what moves that experience. You can't just do them once and go, okay. You really have to do them over and over, soak the mind in that view. Because our minds, we do stuff over and over, and our minds are soaked in other views that are not so generous for your mind, not so healthy. So then I said, finally, the meeting is the next day. This is how you're dealing with your negative thoughts. Okay. So when I go in, this is my deal with myself. And you make deals with yourself, make a determination in your mind. And there are some people, it's like, stop thinking that. I've said that to myself, the negative, stop thinking that. Why do I? Enough, stop thinking it. And sometimes you have to just tell yourself that and then replace it with a positive thought. We'll talk more about it this weekend. So then I made a determination to myself, okay, tomorrow when you go in the meeting, you're well aware of these 5 qualities he has. You like those, I admire those. That's what you're going to be thinking about. You're going to have to keep the mind focused on that. When you get a little nervous, scared, if he raises his voice a little bit, if he's not responding in the way you want him to, you've got to think about those 5 qualities. Try to think about those 5. The other ones are going to be there. They're going to come up at times, but try to stay focused a little bit. Add those 5 qualities into, don't forget them. Went into the meeting, okay? Nervous. I was nervous. And we met, we talked, and I tried to stay focused on that, right? So the other thing is when you're focused on the good qualities, you could find things genuinely to tell the person in a positive way about their work, something I liked about their work. So because it was genuine and I reflected on it, I made a positive comment to him, complimented him about something about his work. So that got his attention. Oh, suddenly a little seed sparks for him. He likes being around me. Why? Because I complimented him. I said something nice to him, but it has to be genuine, not false flattery. So suddenly I got my attention. Suddenly he's like, I like her because this is working for him. Right? And then I think before the end of the meeting, I was able to say another positive thing that I noticed in the thing. And so suddenly we finish and he's softer when he hears that. So he's just meeting me. He's a little bit posturing too. We're both managers at the magazine. There's not a lot of managers at the magazine as opposed to the other staff. So he's a little bit gonna, make sure that he has power over me. That was his whole thing in the office, and I didn't care if he had power over me. I just wanted to be pleasant. That was kind of my motivation as well. But somehow he's liking what's going on and it's fluid. It's working well. We're agreeing with each other somehow. So we finished the first meeting and then, continued to work. But slowly we got really good at our relationship. And then the key is I really started to cultivate a really healthy relationship with him, really positive friend relationship with him through these little things. And I had to keep going back because then I'd hear him yelling at somebody. And then but somehow it worked with us and we just ended up also to think about karma. Positive karmic seed ripening from me, from my mind, that's allowing me, fortunately, to have a good relationship with this guy. That sometimes negative seed is ripening and there's nothing you can do and the person just hates you. You never met them before. They just hate you. So we continue to work on it. So that's what I would say is to try to counter the thoughts, let them float off. And then you want to go back and analyze the thoughts. Are they true? Are the thoughts true? Are they true? Not a lot, right? It's just a habit in the mind. So you're not bad, but just recognize my mind's just used to thinking these thoughts. As you start to analyze and you get to a point as you analyze, they're not true. They're not benefiting me. They're not benefiting anyone. They're not helping me to benefit others. They're really disturbing my mind. Maybe I can start to turn them off at some point. So I slowly had times when I would say to myself, I'd notice some negative remark about self-criticism come up in my mind. I'd notice this old recording in my mind come up again and again, based on certain triggers, certain things would happen. And I noticed, but I got better at being like, we've already analyzed that thought. That's not true. So sometimes I just say like a hi and talk to your delusion. Oh, there's your old thought. I know what you're telling me now, and that's not true. So you know what? You know, finally, I was just parted ways with them. I would just said, thank you so much, all these years. Been there. You've helped me learn to control my mind, and we don't really need to talk anymore. And slowly they really, you know, and then you could replace it with more positive thoughts. And I think we're all good people. Have you made mistakes? Of course, that's human nature. I've made mistakes. I'm much more forgiving and accepting right now. You know I'm a human being. I don't intend to make mistakes, but I do. Don't have a perfect mind yet, but I'm working on it. So that's kind of more of my internal thing is I'm working on it. I'm a good person. You know, I've been a good daughter. I'm a good friend. I'm this, I'm trying. I'm just trying my best. That's all I can do. That makes sense? We try slowly. Takes time. Takes time. Okay. So let me talk about some general things that help us start to control our mind and start to lessen negative emotions. And we will talk, especially on Sunday, about specific delusions you have. So bring your delusions along and let me know what you want to hear about. You know, people say, how do I manage anxiety? How do I manage this? What happens when I get angry? So the first thing we want to do is understand the nature of our mind. Understand the nature of our mind. So some of you have done courses on the mind in here. Has anybody, some say, so in Tibetan Buddhism, the mind has two qualities. Only two qualities. What if you haven't done the mind course, don't say. I just want to, what do you think your mind is like? I'm not talking about your brain. So in Tibetan Buddhism, the mind is not physical. It is not your brain. Consciousness is what I'm talking about when I talk about mind. They are synonyms. Okay. The brain is physical, but the mind has a very unique way of connecting with our body and informing how the life will be and how the body forms and what you're going to be involved in. Like that. So first we have to kind of get through that is what is the mind if it's not physical in Tibetan Buddhism? What is consciousness? And it exists in our tradition in a gross level, a subtle level, and a most subtle level, as does our body. But what do you feel your mind is? What are the qualities? Would you say? Yes.
It's like a monkey.
It's like a
monkey.
like a monkey, like a monkey. It's bouncing around, thoroughly distracted, like that. And online, anybody? Don't think that you're escaping this because you're online. No, sorry. Other experiences of your mind? So we got a monkey mind bouncing around. Certainly seems like that. Has everybody done the mind courses in here? So what are the two qualities of mind then? What do the mind courses say? This is according to Tibetan Buddhism. I want you to think about this tonight and through the weekend. What are the two qualities? We have Andrea. Or
It is
Andrea?
yeah, Andrea. Hello.
Andrea.
Yeah, it is clearly knowing and kind of so clear and knowing. This is the two qualities of the
Okay,
mind.
thank you. The mind is clear and knowing according to Tibetan Buddhism. What do you think of that? Clear and knowing.
Clear and,
Knowing, awareness.
okay.
So
no,
clarity and awareness.
okay.
Clarity and awareness. This is what Tibetan Buddhism says. Okay. So we kind of go, that's not my mind. Like most people go, what? Okay, clarity aspect. Let's look at the clarity aspect. Spacious, luminous, like the sky. We're going to do a meditation tomorrow. Spacious, luminous, like the clear blue sky. Okay, now what happens, clear blue sky, is sometimes there's a massive bank of rain clouds, totally obscuring. You know the clear blue sky is back there, but that's not your experience. It is a gray mass of rain clouds. So that's like when you have heavy depression or heavy delusion in your mind. Heavy depression in the mind, heavy anger, fear, attachment, totally obscures that clear nature of the mind. Luminous clarity. That's really your mind. So great way to think of countering delusion. You have a heavy delusion pass to your mind. That's not the nature of my mind. Wow, look at that. And I've had this myself. Look at that story going through. Ooh, what a drama. You know, and I just watch it, just observe gently. Your heart rate might increase. Sure, you go, and then I might think to myself, "Wow, I'm really, really glad I didn't open my mouth at that moment." Right? So you just notice. And you can even with humorously, you can kind of deal with the delusion. Wow, really, almost like a tidal wave sometimes, they come in, okay? But so the clear, reminding yourself the clear nature of your mind, that's not really my mind, anxiety, depression, fear, forgetfulness, laziness, pride, jealousy. That's not your mind. The reason that's in your mind, the delusion, is from a previous moment of that in your mind, a habit in your mind. That's all. And the internet really, really makes us more monkey mind. You look, and I noticed, I felt my niece and nephews, they're in their 30s now. So when they were little kids, they grew up with a lot of computers. Two of them, their dad was a computer specialist. So there's pictures, my niece, I think, when she was 1 or younger, on her dad's lap in front of the computer. And he's focused, and you see, and she's looking sideways at the camera, a little bit like, get me out of here. This little distressed look on her little baby face, you know, like that. But they grew up, and so my nephew at a very young age, and he works in computers now, at a very young age, had his computer in front of him. Then he had some other device here with messages coming in. And he was always on like 3 things from the age of 11, 12. You know, so that's his habit. So distraction is the habit of that mind. Then it becomes distraction as the habit. And you go, oh no, my mind's distracted. Something. So remind yourself the real nature of your mind is first the clarity, and then the thing is your mind's simply aware of stuff. Like a mirror, it mirrors back. Simply aware of stuff. Oh, and then it connects with my visual consciousness through my eyes. I see a white door, white painted thing, certain kind of floor, people sitting in the room. You know, then you say I'm aware of the temperature of the room or the fan or the noise. Just awareness. My mind knows stuff, knows things. That's your mind. So please explore a little bit and just notice what thoughts are coming in, and notice the habit of the thoughts. They have certain thoughts at night, and then they create you to do certain habits with your body, certain habits with the speech. Just notice, gently notice. So once you're really set up more and more to watch your mind, because that's how we counter delusion. First, you have to become aware of what your mind is doing, gently. Okay. So you're never bored again. You just watch your mind. It's fascinating. Your minds are fascinating. It's amazing. Like that one time we were sitting with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, I may play a couple videos of Rinpoche so you get a little introduction if you haven't met before or looked at these teachings from him. And he's sometimes difficult to understand, but I have some with subtitles, so we can try. But we were in a teaching once, a small teaching, just like a room like this many people. And then at one point, it was such an amazing teaching. It was all night, and when he used to teach all night, and then somehow at the end, everybody was thanking Rinpoche, and I said, you know, thank you, Rinpoche. That it's just Rinpoche's so incredible. And then he really quickly said, you know, your mind is incredible. And I was like, what? You know, but for all of us, he really meant it to all of us, that we don't even know the capacity of our consciousness, what we can do. Like, even if you're very intelligent, I'm not talking about intelligence, but knowledge is different. Wisdom is different. There's intelligence, which helps you to understand the Dharma, but then you have, you know, the Buddha mind, vast depth of that knowledge, limitless, unbelievable. So think about, the first thing is just understanding the nature of what your mind really is. And then there are courses on mind I highly encourage. One is called Discovering Buddhism, Mind and Its Potential. Talks about all the different things about your mind and how to look at the mind. Where does the mind come from? How does the mind connect with the body? It's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. It gives you a bigger scope. You could also read, these are free books in English, as far as I know. They may be translated into German or French or something. Lama Yeshe's books from the Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive, which takes all the teachings of Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche are two founders of our organization, the FPMT. And it takes one of the more famous ones some of you have read, and now they made it into one book. It used to be two books, small books, and they're free booklets they give out. So the center might be able to order some from them. They come from the United States, or there might be a publisher in Europe that can give you a supply. So one of them is called Make Your Mind an Ocean. Some people are familiar with that. Make Your Mind an Ocean. Fantastic read. It's a great book for beginning, intermediate students. Make Your Mind an Ocean, Lama Yeshe. And then the one that it's connected to now is Becoming Your Own Therapist. And that's what's really helpful about looking and doing courses on the mind, is you suddenly realize how your mind's working, that your mind is actually not only really good, but quite extraordinary, and that we've only tapped a little bit of it with our intelligence. And I can work on clearing out the negative habits I have in my mind, delusions, right? And enhancing all the positive qualities like that. A second thing we work with is basic mindfulness to counter delusions. And these are just general antidotes. So in a sense, you're building your Dharma toolbox now. Think about it like that. You're building your Dharma toolbox. It's a slow process. And what happens is the teachers tend to repeat the same thing over and over and over. And the reason is the first pass we get, we kind of are barely listening. You know, you hear it come through one time, second time you hear a little bit more, and the third time it tends to go in. They also talk about how do we listen to teachings, how to listen more effectively. So they talk about sometimes the three natures of the pot, of a teapot, like a tea kettle. You know, so they'll say, do you listen? Like sometimes a pot has a hole in the bottom. So the teaching goes in, it goes right out the bottom. You don't catch any of it. I've watched so many times when we have gone to many teachings with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I remember one time we came out in Los Angeles. We went to see His Holiness teach. And then there's a lunch break. And we left the lunch break, and a few of us went to some restaurant across the street. We're eating together, a bunch of us. And somehow the person waiting on us or at the counter and said, oh, are you all here for the teachings of the Dalai Lama? And we said, yes. And the guy was really interested. And then one of my friends said, they're so powerful. Teachings are so powerful, right? And then the guy said, well, what did he teach on this morning? What did he teach? And then my friend was like, I don't remember. Right. So the pot, you have a hole. Then you have a pot that is, the lid is on too tight, so nothing gets in. You know, you kind of made up your mind, you know all this, you don't need to hear it, nothing comes in. Then you have a pot that is dirty inside. So when it goes in, it gets mixed with all your distracted thoughts and you're thinking of other things and you never really hear as clearly. So it's one thing to think about when you show up, and through the weekend, please, if you can tune in a little bit, you know, make it a little bit clearer so that you're really trying to do that. So it's harder sometimes on Zoom because, you know, we have stuff on Zoom, we don't have our camera on sometimes, and you're doing other things and you're not going to get much like that. So you can always listen to the recording as well. So basic mindfulness is another wonderful way to counter delusion. Basic mindfulness. Now we hear the word mindfulness, it's very hot, everybody loves it. Everybody wants to do mindfulness courses the last 15 years. Great. It is helpful. Mindfulness is super helpful. It's not technically Dharma, okay, but it's super helpful. Okay. It's often related to Dharma. His Holiness the Dalai Lama met with, in a sense, the father of the mindfulness movement in the United States, John Kabat-Zinn, lovely guy. John Kabat-Zinn, His Holiness met with him when he started the mindfulness course many years ago. And His Holiness, very physical, and, you know, grabbed his hand and he said, that's so great, don't call it Dharma. Okay, so what would you say is the essence of Dharma practice? What are we really doing that relates to this course? Dharma, when somebody says Dharma practice, Dharma could be Buddhism. We could say the Buddhist philosophy. When you think about if I'm gonna be a Buddhist, if I'm gonna call myself a Buddhist, but if I'm really, as that being doing Dharma practice, what does that mean to you? What would you say?
Virtuousness, loving kindness, concentration, right?
So virtuous practice, loving kindness, and you said mindfulness
And concentration
and concentration,
and wisdom, right?
wisdom. Kind of makes you a Buddhist, and that's Dharma practice when we're doing stuff like that. Okay. So that's related to it. That's related to some of those things. What else would you say? Anybody online? Anybody else?
Ending suffering.
Ending suffering, certainly related to it. Yeah. How do we end suffering? How would you say, how would you end suffering?
By getting rid of delusions and seeing
By
things how
getting
they
rid of
really are.
delusions. Thank you. So that's Dharma practice. Okay, if you are countering delusion in your mind, that's Dharma practice. You're not countering delusion. I don't care if you just made 100 offerings to 100 Buddha statues and you did all your prostrations and you said all these mantras. You don't have the right motivation and you're working to counter delusion in the mind. You might as well be watching TV like that. That could even be more virtuous sometimes if you have a good program on. Okay, so really think about countering delusion. Now, it's exhausting to do it 24 hours a day when we're new. Exhausting. And there's a very famous one of the, we've heard of Lo Zhong teachings. Lo is mind, Zhong training the mind or transforming the mind. Lo Zhong is mind training. Okay, now we need mind training. But one of the famous Lo Zhong texts we know is called the 8 Verses of Mind Training. There's many different Lo Zhong texts. Geshe Langri Tangpa, the 8 Verses of Mind Training, and one of the verses says, vigilant, the moment a delusion appears in my mind, I will counter it. And so vigilant, it starts with vigilance. So it's exhausting to do it 24 hours a day that you notice the negative thoughts come up. Am I going to get on it right away and realize they're not true? I can just let it go, right? And let it go with a good motivation because I want to practice this path, get fully awakened, benefit all living beings with that mindset. But I'm really looking at my mind and going, I wonder why I have those thoughts. What just happened? Are there triggers around me? I notice that every time I'm with that person, it brings out the best in me. Okay. That means I want to be around that person more. Why do I want to be around them? What qualities do they have? But every time I'm around this person, I'm not the best version of myself. In fact, they're a little scary. In fact, they bring out really negative habits in my mind. So it doesn't mean you cut them out of your life, especially if they're a relative, but I may reduce the time I spend with them. Like I have a trigger for me. And so you want to get to know these patterns in yourself and then work on them. Work on them reasonably. Work on them how you can. So vigilant, the moment a delusion appears in my mind. Okay, so it's tiring. So you want to just have moments. That's why I have some of the moments on my cushion formally, my meditation practice. So I can kind of go, well, yesterday I was a mess. Okay, so I'm going to look at that now calmly. I couldn't look at it in the moment when the guy was yelling at me. That was too much. Couldn't deal with it then, or this coworker that I can't stand, or the boss was yelling at me, or my mother was, couldn't deal with it right then. They're in your face. That's okay. Just try to gently not harm if you can. Like make sure you maybe have to keep this closed at times because I'm going to say something really rude to the person. So let me just try to get out of here. Say goodbye to them. Great. Now I'm on my cushion. So what happened yesterday? So one of the things I noticed for myself is when I'm really, really tired, I can't be around people. I know that. And I was running centers and it's exhausting and people and the last thing, and it's your 15th hour. And here comes the guest and you thought everybody was sleeping that night and you're in the kitchen trying to make a little bowl of ramen or something. And here comes the really difficult guest that's there. What are you making? Can I just ask you a couple Dharma questions and you're done. So I just know at that moment I have to really take a deep breath, and just gently explain to them, I'm so sorry, I'm really tired right now, but let me just answer one question. And then I would escape to my room. And because I just knew, not in a great space. So understand that about yourself. So again, it's not being rude to the person and not being so spacious that I'm gonna help all living beings, but perfectly reasonable to be like, I am limited. I need a break right now. I need a rest right now. We would have people that would turn up to the center. They want to see the director, no appointment. Just turn up, they're demand, I want to see where's the director, whatever, I have this or that. So what I would do is certainly make time, 10 or 15 minutes. People show up because I'm busy too. I had a lot of things to do as well. I have my own agenda or other meetings, or they show up at 10 or 15 minutes. And then I'd say, but if we want more time, let's schedule a time and then you can have an hour or two, like whatever you need to really talk about. But because right now I'm in the middle of something else, so set your boundaries. That's okay. But from a spacious heart, from kindness. I care about this person. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you, but right now I'm in the middle of a big fundraising appeal and I have to get this out tomorrow, and I'm finished ready. I'm working on it with a couple other people. So, and usually they can feel the good heart. They know that they came on, unexpected, whatever, but you can always give a little bit of time and then say, if you'd like to make more time, I'm really happy to talk with you. And Bodhisattvas set boundaries. So Bodhisattva is a Buddhist saint. High-level being that will usually get enlightened soon. And their whole purpose is to serve others. So my teachers, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, if you were in a house with him for days, he didn't talk in the morning at all. Usually it was 1 p.m. before any word he would say. So he had to do his own practice to then be able to be present for everybody like that, unless there was some emergency with somebody or generally. So most of my teachers have stuff where they're like, oh no, Rinpoche won't be available till after lunch to see any students and things like that. So make sure your boundaries are clear, but can you communicate and express that clearly to people gently, compassionately? It's not get out of my face, I'm busy now, I'm more important than you. No, it's just, here's what I'm doing, like that. And some people can be unreasonable. Then we just practice patience. They help us practice patience. So any final questions tonight? Other questions? Are we communicating? Is this helpful so far? Just slowly. So you're going to add little things into your Dharma toolbox. Now what will happen is you won't remember them all the time. But slowly you hear again and again, and then you'll know that, oh, now when I get attached and I feel all this stuff, this is the thing I reach for. This is the antidote I want to use. And when I'm angry, this is the antidote I want to use. This is the meditation I'm going to do tonight when I get home, because today I was really off balance with this. Or later from the thing at work, this is what I'll do tonight when I come back. I'm going to reflect on this. Any questions?
I do have a kind of a question.
Please, yeah.
With, to do with patience. When you're living closely with somebody who has a lot of energy and a lot of irritable, sort of angry, energy, and you are aware of it, and you are trying to calm yourself, but not completely succeeding, but also not actually reacting or letting the person know what you're feeling. Is that kind of good enough for the moment?
Okay, so you're living with an angry person or somebody, a lot of irritability, a lot of energy. And how do you deal with them? Can you just, you were saying your antidote was is that good enough to
just be aware of it, and we're aware that I'm not so advanced that I can actually completely calm myself. Right. I just am so far that I can actually still smile and look like I'm okay.
Yeah. So if I'm not skilled enough to really, deal with it effectively, is it okay if I just kind of accept and just be there and kind of smile at them and don't say anything like that? Okay. So great example. A great question. And it varies from can depend on individual situations. So a friend of mine, and it depends on the situation. A friend of mine just had a situation, and this changed in COVID, as you remember. So her husband had a separate office and worked out of the house, and she was in the house all day taking care of the kids, managing all their programs, and then her own kind of projects, but she didn't work out of the house full time on her own, but she had a lot of activities as well. COVID comes, he is home all the time, and then decides that he's going to change some things about his business because he really liked working at home. They have a great space, and suddenly decided, I don't need to do these business trips anymore. I'm doing them on Zoom, and it saves the air travel and all that pollution and all that stuff. And I'm going to be there, but he's a very intense runner of a massive company. So so she told me he came home, and it has not been a good scene for her, having her husband home all day. And a lot of people notice this, having the partner home all day, you're quarantined in COVID, you're both home. It didn't work for some people. Some people worked brilliantly, some people not at all. And it depends on the size that you're working in. Some people have small houses, some people have big houses. I thought of the horror of domestic abuse, people that were quarantined with their abuser. No place to go, abuser would go to work every day, now they're home all day long. You know, really frightening situation. So in her case, not abused at all, wonderful family actually, you know, their husband's wonderful as well. And could you possibly have a conversation with them? She had to have a conversation with her husband gently. When she could, he'd be yelling around the house, you know, all his energy of I'm running this company, I'm important, I need to do this, it needs to happen. You know, a lot of that, very, very strong energy. She didn't want that in her house. It wasn't in the house before, you leave it at work. Is it possible to have a gentle conversation at an appropriate time? You know, you want to pick a time they're more spacious, you feel more spacious, everybody's in a good mood. Can you have the conversation and find a way to it and just gently explain to them how you feel rather than attacking them? But, you know, with all this energy that you're bringing in and try to have a few concrete examples. You know, when you said this the other day, it just really made me feel so deflated, or I just got so anxious from your anxiety, and I'm actually, and this is our home space, and you know, put it into your own words, but have a conversation. I think we need to let these people know if it's affecting, because you want to be clear it doesn't fall into resentment for you. And then you're holding stuff there, and then it's starting to eat away your own thing, and then at one point you just blow up. You know, some people do that, or they just fold in on themselves, not happy at all. So is that possible? So
Yeah.
slowly, you'd have to do it when you feel, and the other things are just slowly take it in, or when they're in a space like that. I had to do this with someone I was living with. Every time they'd start yelling something negative or some heavy negative criticism, I just walk out of the room. I wasn't an audience to it anymore until I could finally talk with them about it, and had to pretty clearly spell it out to them at one point like that. And then they change. I mean, the other thing with change is, and she did this with her husband, she was quite great about it. You can't expect them to be perfect. So he still has his personality. So what she did is he got much better. And occasionally he'd be stomping around, and she let him have the little occasional stomp around as long as it wasn't continuous every day. Because people are not perfect. And so I did that with the person, you know, that I was living with, and realized at times they're not going to do well, but most of the time they did change like that. But I would just leave the room, so there was no audience for them to continue the blah blah. Sometimes you can do it with humor. Do it like somebody I was living with, a close relative at one point, just had a habit because of before I was living there, they were living with another relative, and that relative would accept the critical verbal speech. So I would come in for breakfast, and then I'd hear the opening thing is, you look like crap. Instead of good morning, how are you? Good morning, did you sleep well? You look like crap. And I would look at them, and then I'd say, you know, good morning to you, bundle of sunshine. And then they'd kind of be like, oh, sorry. Like, You know, until I finally, if it went on too long, then I had to say to them, I'm not here for this, so. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that, it's like, it's more like a teapot that's got a lid on it and it's just wobbling all the time. It never explodes.
Yeah, but even that's an anxious situation to be living with, that kind of thing, right? The,
Not really, not
from
really.
their side?
Yeah, from their
Right.
side, I think. I think that's,
Right,
That's
but
an
it
issue.
affects you to some degree, it seems like.
I get pulled into it.
Right,
But otherwise, I'm good. He's very good, kind.
but that's our excuse,
Yeah,
right? That's what we always say, oh, they're very good and they're very kind, you know, but they're still bubbling over there. So
Yeah.
just gently, you know, remove yourself from the room when it's you know, if you can, get yourself into a nice space, like, that's just his thing, and then his or her thing, and then when you can, I would see if you can have a conversation. Again, appropriate time, everybody's spacious and happy, you know, find the right way and try to, you know, you might need to rehearse it a little bit on your cushion. What do I want to say? I've done that many times, rehearsing until I get it right. And then finally I'm in front of them and the right words are coming because I rehearsed it.
yeah,
That's very helpful to do in practice. That's a kind of analytical meditation,
yeah.
and do it over and over, and yeah. Helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to stop there. And Lars, do you have some dedication prayers from the center that you can share? Thank you. So what we do is we had motivation in the beginning, but then what we want to do is dedicate. We want to take whatever positive energy we created. Okay, we want to invest it in our future enlightenment so we can swiftly get enlightened to benefit all living beings. That's the base of dedication. You can dedicate for all kinds of things. I have a list of massive dedication lists that I like to do every day. Different people I know that I pray for, that I think about, that I on. And it changes because I also have people that died on the list. So I keep them on the list for a while, like that. Can you make it can you make it a little bigger? So we have Tibetan chants we'll do through the weekend with this, but let's read in English. Oh, thank you. That's great. There we go. Due to this virtue, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception into the enlightened state. May the precious Supreme Bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. And then do we have, may the precious view of emptiness that has not arisen arise and grow. And may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Do we have the long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama? Let's really think about His Holiness, who soon will be 90 years old. Our organization is making a big offering to him of all these Buddhist statues. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, when you do this prayer and you think of His Holiness, like really, we said the other night, really think about His Holiness. You really want to, really want him to live long. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And then what we'll do over the weekend is we'll do some of the, prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. That's our main teacher, passed away over 2 years ago. And we've heard that he's taken rebirth in Nepal, but we really want it to be the most optimal rebirth that Rinpoche will be able to study well and eventually resume his position as spiritual director of the FPMT and be able to guide all the students. And certainly it will take some years, but we hope it will go very well. Patient in bearing the hardships of spreading the teachings of the Muni in general. And do you want to make it, so we can see the whole text? And the teachings of victorious Jamgon Tsongkhapa in hundreds of directions, Lord of Dharma holding the 3 vows and wearing saffron robes, please quickly return as the glory of the peerless teachings. What is that prayer?
it's an extract from one of the prayers by Jado
Okay.
Rinpoche, which we use from Jamyang London when we attend the basic program course.
Okay, we have,
It's an
yeah,
abbreviated version.
but I'll bring the longer, I have the longer one too, I can share.
I can share tomorrow. as
Yeah,
well.
we can we'll slowly, but we often have a lot of prayers we do before teachings, prayers we do after, but we're not gonna do, I mean, sometimes when you go to a teaching with the Dalai Lama, the prayers before the teachings can go 20 to 30 minutes. That's how, so the thing is, it's important, and the reason they're important is, in newer classes, we do a little bit less. The reason it's important is it sets up your mind in a virtuous state, and to also ask for all the blessings that we can have teachings uninterrupted and things like that. But I'm not going to take a half an hour of our time but they are really important as well. So slowly we come to understand what all the different practices are. Anyway, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you. We begin at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So thank you so much. And again, there's a sleeping motivation if you'd like to try. You have your waking up motivation you can try. And the thing is, you try something, but when you try something, give it a week or two. Try it for a week or two. Don't just do it once. See how your mind feels when you do it too. Like just get a little sense of did I like that? Did I not like it? But usually give it a couple weeks. It takes about 2 weeks to make a new habit anyway. Thank you so much.
And I also wanted to thank you, Venerable. Thank you for reminding us to soften our hearts and mindset towards those teachers, those people around the world that cause a lot of energy around happening these days. Obviously, we need to meet them with compassion because it's based and rooted in ignorance, not in being a bad person as such. So thank you to remind us that. And also thank you everybody on site, online, everybody joining in. And nice to see people switching on the camera. That's much appreciated. And thank you, and looking forward to tomorrow and all the new and refreshing of the teachings. Thank you very much, Venerable.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lars. And thank you everyone for coming, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Gina. Hello, Daniel, Pat. Nice to see people on site. Can see a lot of familiar faces, a few new people. Hello. Anthony, Vivian, hello. Caroline, Gala, hello. Hello. And who else is there?
And the other thing about what's so great about a center like this is I've been involved with so many centers and traveled a lot of the centers is the world is a little crazy right now, but it's always been crazy. This is samsara. We'll talk about that. The cycle of birth, old age, sickness, death. There's no happiness in that. You have a pretty good scene in Switzerland, let me tell you, compared to a lot of the world. I joke with my Swiss friends that there's so much suffering for the Swiss when they just put one toe outside of Switzerland. But Switzerland is such a perfect realm. I mean, I know it's not perfect here, but it's quite a good scene. But in different things you have in life, challenges of all kinds of things, and because samsara's nature is suffering, we have a center here that helps you deal with it. And I think it's really, these are all these little beacons of light that our organization has a lot of centers around the world. So there's places people can plug in, and there's a little bit of a unique format that's consistent. If you go to center, I come in, there's some consistency, some of the pictures I see, I go, oh yeah, that's our tradition. But you can really get a lot of help here for your mind, to open your heart. And it's so helpful, these centers I find right now, and other spiritual centers that people take refuge in like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lou, for being online. You, Gina, I don't know where you're from, but you're from somewhere. Hello and bye. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
See you.
Where are you from?
New Zealand, but I'm here in Switzerland now.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent.
We're all from different places, right? Mhm. Who's Swiss? Who's from Switzerland here? Put your hand up. And where are you from?
Iraq.
From England?
Iraq.
From Iraq?
Yes.
From
Mexico.
where in Mexico?
The south, close to Acapulco.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Ireland,
Ireland,
also Mexico.
also Mexico. Where in Mexico?
That's in
Mexico City. Wonderful. We have a lot of centers in Mexico. I teach a lot there. Our southern neighbor for our United States.
Germany.
From Germany. Who else is not from Switzerland? You're from New Zealand? Anybody?
Italy.
Italy? And from Germany. Yeah, wonderful international group as well. Yeah, and it's nice to get somebody from the Middle East here.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming. It's great. That's great. I know so many challenges right now in the Middle East. Oh my God. To go to war with Iran any moment. It just gets wilder and wilder. So I'm more convinced of my path. I'm like, this is what we need to do. Because the outside is just sometimes madness. Things like appears to be. So please, yeah.
See you all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Thank you, Lars.
Thank you, Lou.
You.